One of Plotly's biggest assets is the strong community that we have. There are many different platforms where the community is active, but one platform that I'd like to highlight first is the Plotly Forum. Coming together every day, the community supports each other in learning Plotly and Dash by answering questions, sharing code, and building visualizations together. I want to take this opportunity to thank our top forum contributors. If you go to the Users tab on the Plotly forum, you will see different categories. If you update the time frame to, for example, 1 month or 1 quarter or 1 week, you can see the top contributors under the different categories: number of likes received, number of topics they created, and number of solutions, and so on and so on. Another platform that our community actively contributes to is GitHub. In fact, Anne-Marie is our top community contributor on GitHub with over 177 commits to Dash and 219 commits to the Dash docs, which is why I was really happy when she agreed to join us today. Anne-Marie, can you share how you got started contributing to Plotly's GitHub, maybe what motivated you, and what did the initial process look like for you?
Oh, sure, and thanks for the invitation. I first discovered Dash way back in 2019, and I was amazed by what you could make with just a few lines of code. I was also really impressed with how much was available open source, and I wanted to support that effort. So when I started, I started by helping answer questions on the community forum. And then I moved on, and I wanted to contribute to the code base. And I started, my very first commit was 4 years ago, and I updated 2 lines of code in the Dash documentation. And that was so much fun. I really wanted to do more, but I had a lot to learn before I could. The Plotly team was very, very welcoming and helped create a path where I could improve my skill sets and be able to contribute. So I started by things that were labeled first good issue, and those were things like, small bugs or adding, some minor features to things. And then next, I moved on to some more intermediate projects, like adding components. I added the DCC clipboard and the geolocation component. And I finally built up my skills to the point where I could lead. I was the lead developer on the Pages feature, which is Dash's multi-page app feature that was released shortly after 2.0, Dash 2.0 was released. And it's been just an incredible experience, and I've learned so much along the way.
Sounds like a very nice journey that you've had. What would you recommend to community members who would like to get involved with our open source development? How should they go about it?
Well, a great place to start is joining the community, getting on the forum. There's a great group, and we have a lot of fun. You'll find lots of activities and initiatives that you'll learn more about later today. And looking for that good first issue tag is a good way to start. So start something small, and even something small though in the Dash and the Plotly graphing GitHub. Those are mature projects, and the project's quite large, so it can feel intimidating to get started. But just ask for help on the forum, and one of us would be delighted to mentor people through their first pull request.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. And thank you to all our community members that have given us their time and skills to contribute to our open source libraries. One final platform that I'd like to call out and thank our community members for using is the Dash examples page. This webpage has over 100 apps that were built by the community for the community. Every month, we have community members request to add their apps to one of the categories you see on the left. And one such app that was recently added was created by Juan, who is one of our most active open source Dash users, created acquisitions and mergers. Let's go to finance, acquisitions and mergers, and this is his app. Juan, thank you for being here today. What can you tell us about your app?
Thank you, Adam. The application is a quantitative and financial study on the concentration of banking over the last couple of decades. And what I mean by the concentration of banking is simply the process through which capital centralizes more and more around a few financial institutions. And so one may ask, how do we qualify and quantify this process? So for my data application, I did it by looking at two properties of the biggest four commercial banks in the US. This being Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Citibank. The first one being the concentration of consolidated assets of the big four banks. And then secondly, the activities of acquisitions and mergers of those same banks.
And Juan, what motivated you to contribute to the Dash example page?
Yeah, the reason that I wanted to contribute to the Dash examples was because I wanted to share my findings and demonstrate my data science skills with potential clients, employers, and team members. And I do feel that sharing your data application through the Dash examples page allows you to be recognized within the field of data science. In fact, because of the data app, I have been invited to participate in data science and econometric projects. Also, I wanted to share the data application to contribute to the field of political economy and help others do the same in this field or other fields by using my methodology and code.
Appreciate it, Juan. And thank you to you and to all our community members who have submitted their apps to the Dash examples page. Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Greg Wilson, who recently joined us as the manager of the libraries team. Greg is probably best known as the co-founder and first executive director of Software Carpentry, a volunteer organization that teaches programming and data science skills to researchers all over the world. Greg, over to you.
Thanks very much, Adam. I'm very pleased to be here. This is actually my 13th week at Plotly, and I still feel like I'm learning new things about the company and its community every day. So to set the stage, my team is responsible for both the open source libraries that most people will be familiar with, and for some closed source libraries that we maintain internally to support our commercial products. It's a lot of code. There's almost 200,000 lines of JavaScript in Plotly.js alone, and that doesn't include the tests and other support. So one of the first things I realized after joining Plotly was that keeping up to date with bug reports, feature requests, and community contributions in a code base this size is a big challenge. My focus over the last couple of months has therefore been on tidying up and organizing what we already have. For example, we've closed over 2,500 issues, some going back more than 6 years, because the problems they reported had been resolved or were no longer relevant. We're now down to about 500 issues each in the Plotly.js and Plotly.py projects, and we'll be tackling the Dash repository next. Labeling these issues, grouping duplicates, and then prioritizing them will help us focus more on what actually matters to the community and also enable us to turn around community contributions more quickly. Of course, we haven't stopped working on new features while this has been going on. For example, the latest version of Dash has some more sophisticated error handling that will make it a lot easier for people administering complex setups to get the messages they want where they want them. It may not seem as exciting as new types of plots, but it means that for the first time, Dash developers can build custom UIs for generic errors or set up alerts if any of their callbacks trigger an error. This work was initiated by one of our core community members, and I'll come back to how we plan to recognize work like this in just a minute. Another new feature is an overhaul of how we handle maps. We aren't a GIS company, so historically we've gotten our map data from the Mapbox project. Going forward, we're switching to MapLibre, both for licensing reasons and because it will allow users to specify things like the set of national borders that they want to download. We're trying to make the transition as seamless as possible, The release notes will explain what users will need to change when. We are also shipping subtitles and rounded corners for Plotly charts, along with a revamped loading component system for Dash, delayed spinners, and more styling configuration, all of which have been on our wish list for a long time. Looking ahead, we are currently working on some back-end improvements that ought to make it easier for new contributors to get started.
Wow, great. That sounds like a lot, and like it was a very big project.
It was, and if I can take a moment, I'd like to thank the community contributors who helped us understand the subtleties involved and worked with us to address them. We wouldn't be here without them. That segues into something else we're working on, which is new ways to give core community contributors recognition for their work. Like most open source communities, Plotly's follows a long tail distribution. Most people contribute a few things now and again, but a handful go much further. Whether it's the bindings for R and .NET, maintaining wrappers for third-party CSS packages, or all the hard work that goes into -AG Grid, these contributors address a lot of needs that we can't get to. We're now exploring ways to get them credit for all the thought and hours they put in. Badges for LinkedIn and their GitHub profiles, callouts on our website, and support for meetups or conference activities are all possibilities, so please keep an eye out for announcements. And finally, speaking of badges, you may have noticed some appearing in our GitHub repositories over the past few weeks. One other way we're trying to make it easier for people in our community to contribute is to make it clear which repositories we are maintaining ourselves and which ones are being maintained by open source contributors. We've added badges in the README files of all our public repos so that newcomers won't have to dig around to find out if we're triaging issues and reviewing PRs, or if someone else has taken that on. So far, it seems to be working out pretty well. Again, please keep an eye out for an upcoming blog post about what we're learning and what we hope to do next.
Thank you, Greg, for that detailed update. A lot's going on there in the community and open source. Moving on, I'd like to highlight ongoing events and initiatives within the Plotly community. One event that happens on a monthly basis is called the Plotly Dash Community Meetup. Juan, you are well known for consistently attending these meetups and always participating, which is why we felt you would be a great person to talk about them. Can you please tell our viewers more about the meetup and how they can join?
For sure, Adam. The Plotly Dash Community Meetup is a really collaborative and resourceful group of data-driven folks that help each other out, essentially. We share resources, data apps, and we help each other with data projects. The reason that I decided to join and become an active participant in the community is because I'm able to get updated with the newest trends of data analysis tools, share ideas, and network with people that have actually helped me with some of my data science projects, including the concentration of banking data app that I just talked about. And the reason that I think it's really important to be involved in these kind of organizations is because within the profession of data analysis, I feel it's easy to get isolated and over-specialized in your field. And I think that the Plotly Dash community group helps break the monotony of the insulated work that often happens with technical professionals. And I think that the community does so by keeping each other informed of the different creative methods to solve data problems. And we also have members of the Plotly team like Adam and Greg that keep us updated with the latest technical developments with Dash and Plotly. Recently including an integration of AI agents into your data applications, which is something that I'm really excited about. So what I recommend people to do is to get in contact with Adam to get invited to the group, which meets the last Thursday of every month from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you, Juan. And to build on top of that, actually the last Thursday of the month is tomorrow, July 25th. So just email me at adam@plotly.com. Again, it's adam@plotly.com, and I'll add you to the invite. Another big initiative that we started about a year ago is the Dash Example Index. This is a collection of simplified Dash apps, usually no longer than 100 lines of code, that are built by the community for the community's learning. Anne-Marie was the creator of this multi-page application index, as well as its GitHub repository. Anne-Marie, can you share how this project got started, please?
Well, I actually started this project for my own use because I wanted a way to quickly find code snippets and minimal examples for when I was answering questions on the community forum. And the one thing I really like about this app is it's really fast to find things. Like if you're searching for a component or a certain type of callback, you can type that in and it narrows down the apps to only those apps with those features. And then within the apps, there's links back to the documentation to get more information on those features. And in fact, from the documentation, you can link back to this app too. So there's many places in the docs where you can see live examples, and it will link back here. And even though it's designed for beginners, I use this all the time. I think it's really handy. I keep it open in a browser tab. And if I'm looking at adding new features to a larger project, I will take something that one of these apps is a starting place to build it out. Or it's a good place to find a starting place for something like for debugging if you need to make a minimal app to help debug something. So. And
Anne-Marie, what if people want to contribute? What would you say is the best way to do that?
The best way is to go to the GitHub, and there's a link in the Dash example index that will take you to the GitHub. You can open a new issue, make suggestions for apps you'd like to see, or post a little minimal app right in the issue. There's a pretty extensive review process for the apps to make sure coding style is consistent and it works in the project. We do try to make it as painless as possible, and you can get involved as much or as little as you like in the review process. But this is an easy way to start if you're just starting to make a pull request, because it's a much smaller library than, say, Dash or the graphing libraries. So we hope you participate.
We hope so indeed. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I want to talk about another way that Plotly highlights community initiatives, and that is through the Dash Club newsletter. The Dash Club newsletter is a place where we highlight all the different initiatives that the community members are working on. If you haven't signed up yet, just go to go.plotly.com/dash-club. It's completely free, and within the initial sign up, you'll also get a couple of cheat sheets and learning resources. Also, if you'd like to shine light on your Dash or Plotly work, simply post your creations on the Plotly forum. So far, we've talked about long-standing initiatives, but I would like to draw your attention to a couple of new initiatives that we only recently announced. The first is the Plotly Hangouts. Now, this occurs every month and features an interview with a Plotly community member as the guest speaker. The Hangout is open to everybody and it's interactive, so many contributing community members often participate by asking the guest speaker questions and sharing their own experiences. Now, to the most recent initiative launched, we have Figure Friday. Every week, Plotly will release a dataset and a sample figure, and the community will have 1 week until midnight on the following Thursday to enhance that figure, build your own Plotly figure, or create a Dash app. We created this weekly activity to give you the opportunity to enhance your Plotly skills, collaborate among community members, and share your creations with the world. While participating, you will also be developing your personal portfolio of data visualizations and apps. To join us, simply go to the same Plotly events page and look for Figure Friday under Upcoming Events section. To wrap up, Anne-Marie, Juan, Greg, and I have gone over numerous community initiatives and contribution opportunities. So you might ask yourself, where do I start? Where could I be helpful? It is exactly for that reason that we built the contribution guide. You can find this guide within the top right Contribute tab of the Plotly forum. By clicking on it, you'll see that we have close to 10 different ways to contribute back to the Plotly and Dash community. We recommend that you review this guide and see what opportunity interests you the most. Then simply start contributing or reach out to Greg or me if you have any questions. Thank you everyone for tuning in to these Plotly community updates.